common misconception with psychopaths is that they are all violent, extreme kind of criminals. The majority of them are living and working around us in jobs, psychologically destroying the people that they work with.
Hello everybody, welcome back to my channel. It's Maya Mystery here, and in today's video I want to talk about a particular type of psychopath, that is the corporate psychopath. So what exactly is a corporate psychopath? Well, hint in the name, a corporate psychopath is a psychopath that normally does their most damage and, places themselves in the corporate world. So you see very famous, rich and powerful CEOs, or whether it's just your manager in your job or just also a colleague that makes things very difficult. And the form of abuse that corporate psychopaths dish out to their victim normally comes in the forms of sabotage to their work, threats to reputation, intimidation and belittling. It says that 96% of employees experience bullying in the workplace. And workplace bullying is clearly detrimental to corporate culture, but there's a type of individual known as the corporate psychopath that takes traditional bullying to a new level altogether. So a question that I've always asked myself is why these particular type of psychopaths show up so much in the corporate world. And I think it's actually pretty obvious. There's a type of personality out there that seeks to control and dominate other people, and they'll do what it takes to get to a position where they can do so. They want to be the boss. They want to be someone who gives orders to other people because they're empty inside and they want to feel powerful. They want to feel like they have some sort of worth, and getting people to listen to them or do as they say gives them sort of a false sense of, self-worth. So it's interesting, but also quite, self-explanatory about why these kind of people gravitate to these positions. It's interesting because in society, we kind of believe that psychopaths are only murderers, or the kind of people you hear about in true crime stories, like the people I cover on my channel, like Ted Bundy or Jeffrey Dahmer. But psychopaths show up in every aspect of life. Your wife can be a psychopath and never kill anyone. Your boss can be a psychopath. Your best friend could be a psychopath. So corporate psychopaths may vary in appearance but share common personality traits. According to the DSM-4, psychopaths are categorized by lack of empathy or conscience, manipulative behavior and poor impulse control. Corporate psychopaths typically humiliate others publicly, ridicule workers, lie compulsively, and take credit for other people's accomplishments. They're superficially charming, egotistical, and emotionally disconnected. So your psychopathic manager can be thought of as a member of the dark triad, and the characteristics that make up the dark triad include psychopathy, Machiavellianism and narcissism. Machiavellianism describes people with a selfish and ruthless approach to managing. They subscribe to the notion that they will be better able to serve others by first serving themselves. And corporate psychopaths are also likely to be arrogant and self-centered with little regard to the effect that their actions have on others. Many could say that psychopathy and narcissism are the equivalent, but there are distinguishing differences. According to clinical psychologists, pure narcissists experience actually emotions and feelings, and therefore they have a conscience, but psychopaths lack this by definition. So it's interesting, you could have a narcissistic manager or a psychopathic manager. The difference is that narcissists, although very selfish and childish and annoying, they do have a conscience, while psychopaths don't. So what's interesting too is that attributes possessed by corporate psychopaths are not always negative. To rise to these positions, they have to have qualities that attract hiring managers and company leaders. Corporate psychopaths are known to have overwhelming charisma and a charming facade. Combining these traits with their ability to make calm decisions under pressure make these individuals initially appear as good candidates for management positions. While some argue that psychopathy can be a positive in the corporate world, others, including Robert Herr, for example, who founded the psychopathy checklist, disagree, claiming that without empathy, psychopaths are inherently malevolent and cannot sustain success for extended extended periods of time. So I broke down my research into 3 main points on how to spot a corporate psychopath, and they are as follows. So the first thing that I have to talk about, of course, is lies. When your boss or your manager or even a colleague that you work with is constantly lying when you're trying to work alongside them, it's a sign that something is not right. We know psychopaths love to lie. We know that they lie as much as they speak. But in the workplace, this can take form of sort of sabotaging you in your work. Like, for example, not telling you what you're supposed to do and then complaining to you after that you didn't do it. It's like, excuse me, but being telepathic was not listed on my objectives for, my job. People need to be clear with people in the workplace, and if someone's not being clear with you or constantly rearranging the goalposts or lying about certain things, well, then you know that there's something not right with them. And this can take also form in the fact of being very superficially charming, very nice to your face, but talking crap about you behind your back. This is quite easy to spot, someone's toxic. If you notice that you find yourself in trouble for things that you actually haven't done or you were never told to do. So, of course, lies is an easy one to, first of all, start to see that something's not right. The second one I want to talk about is quite interesting. It's micromanagement or being very controlling. So sociopaths and psychopaths love to test waters with you to see how far they can push your boundaries. An example of this would be, there's actually a sociopath I know who constantly asks you to make her a cup of tea when you're talking to her. You'd be in her house and she'd be like, first of all, turn the kettle on. And she would say, or would you go upstairs and get that for me? And it sounds kind of simple, like, oh, turn the kettle on or go upstairs and get that for me, but it gets worse and worse and worse. And what they start to ask of you becomes, hard to follow through with. In the workplace, this happens in that your boss can ask you for things that are really outside of your job description. They will control you. They will constantly get more and more and more demanding with their demands and try to push you off the edge, try to make you feel unbalanced and stress you out, so when you're in your weakest moment, they can completely take advantage of you. So watch out for that. The last thing that I want to talk about is the type of people that these kind of people target. These people like to target people who are self-assured, have self-esteem, are good people, and have a sense of self. This is because psychopaths don't have any of that. They don't feel like they're a person unless they're making someone else feel bad, because ultimately they feel really bad about themselves. They feel hollow inside. The only way that they can feel good is making other people around them feel bad by default. So that makes them feel good. So if you're around someone who's constantly profiting from your pain, constantly is trying to overwhelm you, like I said, with work, or by criticizing you, sabotaging you, belittling you, then you know that you're dealing with a corporate psychopath. So that was just 3 quick ways to spot a corporate psychopath. This is very interesting, and there's a lot of research you can do online about corporate psychopaths, and there's a few documentaries as well, because this is very real and it's actually a very modern day issue. They said that narcissism and dark triad behaviour is on the rise, probably due to our comparison culture. And these people, unfortunately, will gravitate to positions of power. And if you're underneath them, you might feel their wrath.